Alright, hey guys, an anonymous question, well, I guess it wasn't a question so much as a idea, but requested, or a request, that I talk about girls in my next one of these videos. Now, I'm not totally sure what about girls exactly. But, I figure 18-year-old boy, that's the kind of thing I should be able to talk about. Girls, other than being, beautiful creatures and wonderful people for the most part, etc., etc., they can be tricky. And I often find myself thinking that they may actually think differently than boys. Maybe not necessarily think differently per se, but brains work differently. For example, I was, something happened within a group of my work friends, and I was at the house of a girl that I'd been spending time with, and she started asking me questions. And, that's totally fine. Ask questions about a situation, whatever. But there came a point when the questions had more to do with, the first and last names of the people involved and, like, the more personal things that made it not so much to do with the situation itself, but to do about gossip. And I said something. I said that, that this seems more like gossiping than it does my telling you about a situation, so, I don't really want to talk about it. And she responded with, "Of course it's gossiping. Girls love to gossip. This is what we do." And I was like, "All right, this is, whatever." Changed the subject, went on with our business day, whatever. And, I've actually been, since that day, since she mentioned that, I've been picking up on that more and more. A friend of mine came to me after she first had sex with a boyfriend. First time they had sex. And he didn't use a condom, and he also didn't pull out. So there was a pregnancy scare, basically. And she told me not to tell anybody. She was, completely humiliated, furious about it, totally distraught. And about 2 weeks later, she got a period. And I'm like, wow, that's terrific news, that's great. And I'm at the apartment of a mutual friend of ours. And that friend says, "Oh man, like, did you hear the news? Like, it's great." And I'm like, "I know, thank God she got a period." Now that wasn't what the girl whose apartment I was at was talking about. So right there, I spilled the secret, totally unintentionally. I felt horrible about it, but that's beside the point. I immediately said, "Oh my God, don't tell anybody. Like, you can't tell any of the people who we spent time with. Don't tell her boyfriend. Don't tell her boyfriend's brother. Don't tell anybody. That has to stay between you and me. Like, I can't believe I told you that." She's like, "Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, I totally get it. No problem. Like, I won't tell anybody. I totally understand. That's something horrible." And, I was really glad to have friends that I can trust with, things like that. And, later that day, that girl was back over at my house, and, we're all hanging out, smoking pot, doing what myself and my friends do when we're all together. And I find out about 2 days later that between when I had seen her that morning at her apartment, and we had parted ways, and when she'd come over my house at 9 or 10 that night, she had told everybody. Everybody. And I think it brought me straight back to that incident at the girl's house who I had been with several weeks ago, where she said the girls just like to gossip, and I think that may have a lot to do with it. Like, I'll be sitting at lunch, and my old neighbor, for example, she and her boyfriend have been together for a couple of years, and they've been going through a kind of tough time recently. And as much as I hate to say this on the internet because it feels like I'm gossiping now, her boyfriend went through her phone and found text messages from her and another boy being like, "Listen, I love you, and I want to get married to you," and all this stuff like that. And, her boyfriend, I think, was less furious and more heartbroken. It's your lover for 2 or 3 years, and then you come across this in their phone. It's horrible. And I was sitting at lunch, and a friend of mine turned to me and said, "Oh, did you hear what happened with, this person and this person in their relationship, your old neighbor?" And I was like, well, yeah, but why? You know, why would you talk about that? And she was like, oh, well, you know, because this is what happened, and, like, this is how they're feeling, and, like, it's a really rough time for them because of this, and this, and I suspect this, and basically gossiping. And, you know, the relationship, it has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with the girl I was sitting next to at lunch. It has nothing to do with any of us, except for the two people, and maybe the third, that was involved in that text message. And yet people still feel compelled to talk about it. But it's less that people feel compelled to talk about it, and more that the girl felt compelled to talk about it. And that made me wonder, is it because it's something, you know, interesting and relatively groundbreaking, I guess? Or is it because she was a girl and felt somehow compelled to gossip? But so yeah, that's just something I've been thinking about girls lately. That maybe they feel in some way naturally compelled to gossip. I mean, I hear my mother doing it, and she's not the kind of lady you would expect to gossip. You know, my 28-year-old sisters, and I don't know. That's just kind of interesting. Let's see what else about girls do you guys wanna hear from me? Um, Sometimes I meet girls. You know what I've noticed about girls? Very few of them are both attractive and intelligent. Um, like for example, I went on something of a date with a girl last weekend, well, a week ago today. And you know, she was very attractive. You know, really nice, super friendly, smoked weed. You know, she's a lot of fun to be around, but not the kind of person that you can sit down and have a conversation with and like be intellectually stimulated. Not somebody that I can talk about, you know, philosophy or dreams or, you know, something I wrote or something I read, anything like that. It's just not somebody I could have that kind of conversation with. And I often find that the kinds of people I can have that conversation with are not, oh god, I don't want to say are not attractive, but like not sexually attractive in the sense that I would want to, or I would outwardly be interested in being with them. And you know, I dated this one girl for several years, Claudia, and I think she was probably one of the very, very few women I've ever met that were both, you know, physically attractive. You know, she's beautiful, but still, you know, intelligent enough. I don't know if this video is still taking. Oh, nope, yeah, it is. You know, still attractive enough to maintain a worthwhile conversation. And that is something that's important. I met a girl at school lately, and we've, you know, been talking at school, and like we go out for coffee sometimes. And you know, the thing with her is that, you know, she's really intelligent, she's also really attractive, and it's interesting to meet people like that because she told me that her whole life people have just been looking at her as the girl with, you know, big tits and blonde hair, and never taken into account immediately the intellectual capacity of her. And because of that, a lot of her ideas are misunderstood or not taken seriously enough. I mean, initially at first, until people get to know her and understand that she's more than, you know, a pretty face and a pair of tits. And I don't know. It's, I guess, the capacity for intellectual thought, whether or not you're intelligent, has more to do with, you know, whether or not you are intelligent, which has to do with how much your dendrites develop when you're younger, how much you're stimulated as an infant. So it may not necessarily be something that you can change as you grow up. You know, you can't be like, I think I feel like being more intelligent, and suddenly, you know, read a bunch of books and be more intelligent. Actually, maybe you can do that. I've no idea. Um, but yeah, so that's something I found about girls. They maybe like to gossip, and they're it's a small breed of girl that is both intelligent and attractive. But you know, God bless the ones who are. And man, what else about girls? Sometimes I get anonymous questions about what I look for in a girl. I guess I could talk about that for a minute. Um, I like girls with messy hair. I like girls who don't wear makeup. Um, I like girls who wear boots. I like girls who know when to be polite. I like girls who can keep a level head. I like girls with obscure tastes in music. Um, you know, fashion sense wise, I like girls who wear flannels, but I think I'm more attracted to girls with like some really obscure, you know, clothing style, something that a lot of other people wouldn't be able, not necessarily to pull off, but to wear comfortably or confidently. Um, For example, the girl who I was talking about, who I go to coffee with sometimes, like she wears like shredded up, denim, and you know has her lips all bright red, all kinds of just ridiculous shit that makes you notice, makes you kind of be like, whoa. Um, Man, what about girls? Yeah, I don't have much to say. I like them. For some reason, a lot of them seem not to like me. The end. Have a happy Sunday, guys.